All right, guys, give me a minute. I'm trying to fix this problem right now. Let me know if you guys can hear echo still, because I don't hear anything. But my camera's not working. Oh, I know why. What the hell is going on? All right, this one problem fixed. All right, let's see what the problem is here. How about now? Nope. No. Try now. One, two, one, two. All right, guys, let me know if you can hear it. Echo still, because I'm not sure what the hell is going on. Oh, I can still hear it. Let's get rid of this. All right. One, two. Ah, fixed it. Haha. Okay. As I was saying, welcome to another stream. We had a little difficulties, so we are fixed it. I hope so. So another stream, another live, with little hiccups in the beginning. So we are talking about disability. Before we get into it, please, 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 please hit the like button, share, subscribe. If it's the first time in the chat or in the channel or anything like that new, please say hi. If you're coming again, say hi. Because I tell you so. I am going to drop the link immediately in the chats because obviously it didn't work the way I was planning to. So I'm going to drop it right about now. And I'm going to email it to everybody who's supposed to get it. So you guys have it. So we're all on the same page. Give me one quick second. Because then I have this as a backup. Literally. All right. Give me 1 minute, guys. Don't know what the hell is going on with myself today. All right. And boom. All right. So let's get with the show. All right. We are talking about disability. This is a very important topic for me. So I've been public said on the channel and some other places that I do suffer from disability personally. I have a reading and spelling disability. Um, it's something I've been struggling most of my life. But it's okay. I am passing through it and I will conquer this. But there are other types of disability. There are a lot of disabilities out there. First thing I want to say out there, if you do suffer from disability, you're not alone. If you need help, reach out. I can do the best I can to help you, how to conquer it, and all that stuff. But how do we conquer disability? You fuck it. Simple as that. So, before I do it, if you're in the chats, please give me a shout out. Tell me how I'm hearing. Give me a 1, 2, or 3 or something. Let me know I am sounding fine. I don't have an echo anymore. Please hit me up. Let me know how everything is sounding. So, as I was saying, a disability is something that I struggled all my life, and I still fight with it. And we have Stacy in the chats. As always, good evening. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Upcoming arrival. Of course, we have to say our cheers to our unofficial cheerleader. If you can hear my sound effects, please let me know, Stacy, because you're the one who usually yells at me if I don't. So give me a heads up if you do hear it. And thank you. I don't have an echo anymore. Huh, thank God. So okay, disability is a big thing to me. I was saying, I grew up with disability. My disability came from uh, uh, oh, let me send this to the person I need to. And I got to send this to one more other person I forgot. And done. So, no sound effects. Okay, I can fix that problem very, very easy on this side, hopefully. As I'm talking, I'm gonna work with them. The disability I've been working with for a very, very, very long time because it's something that affected me as a kid. Is something I always struggled with, and I always continue to struggle with. It's nothing I can stop it, unfortunately. Uh, let's try. No, that. Yeah, I think so. That might fix the problem. All right, let's try the sound effects one more time. All right, Chase, let me know if you hear the sound effects because I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this. Um, a disability doesn't mean you're not a person who can continue. It's a person who needs to fight a little harder and continue. It says, let me know if you can hear the sound effects, please. It's something that got it. Cool. So something that we all, believe it or not, most people struggle with disability. Everybody somehow, some way has one. So, what is disability? Disability is something that you need to. Trying to find the word here now. You might have to fight a little harder. So there are different kinds of disabilities. They're physical, mental, reading, spelling, all kinds of disabilities. So understanding what is a disability is the biggest thing. Here we go. Let's see what she says here. Stacy, really fast. Do. All right. Oh, at least we got one problem fixed tonight. So, a disability is something that you need to conquer. It could be physical, like I said, mental, any that type. Mine's reading and spelling. Mine came from traveling back and forth to different countries. It's something I always struggled with, and I'll continue to struggle with, and that's okay. I will overcome this problem. I will always conquer it, and it just takes time, and it's okay. When it comes to it, it's schooling. How can school and education impact a better support system? That is the question of the day. Me personally, school education system failed me. Meaning, when it came down to picking up my disability, it was way too late. They didn't realize I had disability till probably my senior year, I want to say. So, kind of like, hey, kid, you have a disability. Tough luck. Sorry, we missed it. Oopsies. And that's not the right answer I was looking for. Unfortunately, it's something that I need to accept. And when it comes to unemployment, it does affect my job sometimes because being a person who is a chef, who needs to read ingredients, who needs to read recipes, who needs to write things down, a log, emails, and that can suffer my job. Technology is also another one. Grabbing a phone or I don't know, anything like here, like whatever I'm reading right now on my phone, or fixing this up might take me a little longer to do it. because it's a struggle. It does affect social everything. What I mean social everything is when I text somebody, it might take me a little longer to respond or text somebody or go around it. That's one. A mental health. That's the biggest one for me. Being called all these names in school, stupid, dumbass. My own parents couldn't understand why I was struggling, saying, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "You can do this. This is easy." When somebody doesn't have a disability, they don't know it. They don't understand it, and that's where the problem comes to. So, by the way, guys, anybody wants to come up and shoot the shits with me and talk about this subject, please will come up. I love to talk about this. This is something very important to me. What was I? Here's my notes. Nope, I lost my place. Where was I? Okay. Where was I? Okay, here I was. Personal story. Everybody has this personal story, and this story could be affected in a lot of different ways. The story could be anything. I have a story. My story is different than yours. We keep that in mind when we talk about disability. Can you share your personal story of overcoming obstacles, um, boundaries, personal obstacles? Yeah, I can. High school, college. Yeah, I was pretty good with, some stuff, but a lot of things I struggle with. My favorite subject was always history. Unfortunately, with history, you have to read a lot. As much as I love history, I struggled with it because of all the reading. Writing essays, jeez, that was the worst part for me. Writing a fucking essay was taking fucking forever because I didn't. The words connect here, but when it came to my hand and put it on paper, did not connect. Spelling the words out was so difficult for me sometimes, and I couldn't understand why. I was sometimes thinking that maybe something's wrong with me, but honestly, it was nothing wrong with me. It came down to be my my learning pattern is a little different than somebody else's, and it's something that we have to acknowledge now. Most men, I want to say, they say I think it's 75% men, believe it or not, have the same disability I have. Some of you are very severe, like mine. Some are not as severe. And most men don't know if they have it. They know it. And that is a big factor. Like, I want to see if somebody's available to come up and talk about this. Let me see if I can get him. I might have to get my phone for this one. Let's see if he's a fair. Yeah, I have to use my phone for that. So let me ask you a question: Does any of you guys suffer from any type of disability or know somebody that like to share a situation or something? Because that will be, help open a good conversation. Let me see if I can find this guy. Nope. Let's try a different way. I love how social media, all this have 100 ways to find one goddamn person. That is the pain in the ass part. Uh, there it is. Oh, nope. Cancel. Come on, cancel. Come on. Yeah, there we go. So, anybody that wants to join us, let us know, please. The plan is open. And my phone is struggling with me now. Come on, work for me. try this all over again. Of course, it's not gonna work with me. It's weird. It's not coming up. Let me try a different way. Oh, here we go. Just bear with me 1 second, guys. And we got Mariana in the stream. What is going on? So, Mariana, let me ask you this question to you. Have you ever struggled with a situation or knowing somebody with disability? And you do, please let us know. What do you think? Let me see what I can find. A friend. Can you share the friend story or no? You don't have to release their names. So I gotta see. Bear with me. You send this over there. And oh, oh. All right, got that going. Okay, so I hate when a stream start off like this. It's always a pain in the ass trying to fix everything on the fly. Let's fix this last problem, and we're rock and rolling. So I've been struggling with this problem for oof, half my life. I can't count. Even to this day, I still needed to have time to work on it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's something you just need to have practice with. And that's it. Keep working on it. And that's all you can do. And that's all we can do as human beings is try to fix the problem. I know I keep saying all this stuff and people say, what do you know about this stuff? Well, I know a little more than you think. And I'm almost done here, guys. Give me one last second. And of course, it's not gonna let me fucking fix this online when I'm live. I hate technology sometimes. And goes with the disability. And Marianne replies, yes, I do. My loved one has one. Marianne, let me ask you a question, a serious question here now. Do you feel comfortable enough coming up and talking about it, or do you want to talk about it in the chats? No pressure again. It is up to you. The link is in the description, and yes, you can use your phone if you like. You could keep the camera off. That's fine. I just need to see you in the back chat for a second. I say make sure that's you on it. And she replies, I have an uncle that cannot talk that affects his speech. That is definitely a big hiccup. A huge hiccup. So, with any kind of disability, you need to find first what causes it. Number one, you have to understand what causes it and how to conquer it. Once you conquer that part, you're definitely on the right path. B, how do you overcome this? What is the best way to overcome this? How can you overcome this? That's the other question. On top of that, how do you improve it? Meaning, how do you make it a weakness into a strength. And that's the hardest part, making it a weakness into a strength. When people don't deal with this on a daily basis, they have no idea how bad they can be. And that's the question we all have. Let me the question: people who have disabilities. I always tell people who suffer this: this is a journey. It's a lonely journey, a journey that you need to overcome by yourself, and you will. It takes time and effort, and that's all you can do. It makes me think sometimes, if I didn't have a disability, where would I be in life? The most smartest people in the world have disabilities. Einstein, for example. Tesla. Not the car, actually the man. Any of those big famous people had a disability. I know it's hard for them to even think about themselves. It's also hard to think. Einstein, the smartest man in the world, had dyslexia. Do I need to say more? It's something that we all need to overcome eventually. All right, guys. Anybody coming up? Because this will be a better conversation to have some from you guys up here. Anybody? So, breaking the boundaries of getting through the everyday titles, you have a disability. It's not going to get you anywhere. You need to get through this first, your mental health first. Understand why and how that happened. Once you get through that part, you're fine. Then you can conquer it. Then you can become a better person. Sometimes I think if I had a little more time, caught this a little sooner, maybe I can overcome this. But time is still there for me. I still work on it every single day. Reading a book or a comic book, an article on my phone, something. If I take 10 minutes to read every day, it increases my chances. Everything makes it better. I know that sounds weird. I wish I had a teacher in the chat right now. Actually, I know somebody. Let me see if she can come up and have a conversation with us. She may not come up, but I think she'll definitely talk in the chats. Let me find her. Where is she? All right. Hopefully she responds in a few minutes and we'll go from there. So when it comes to the disability part, people thinks it's a crutch, and it's not a crutch. That's the thing that pisses me off when I hear this all the time. Oh, you use a crutch. Use this. Use that. People don't understand it. You know, times I've been made fun of that shit, and it pisses me the fuck off. Oh, you just don't know grammar. Me. No, it's not that, you fucking idiot. I struggle with it. So if you can understand that, go fuck yourself. We're always talking about shaming people with their bodies. We're talking about always shaming them for the culture or what color skin they have, what tattoos, that have beards, hair. But how about we stop making fun of people because they do have a disability? I know people who has a speech therapy. I mean speech thing. Like Mariana mentioned, it doesn't mean they're stupid or anything like that. It means they stutter. Nothing wrong with that. They they can figure this out. We all can figure this out together if we just take the time to acknowledge it. And we got one of my big guys. Yo, what's up, my man?
Finally, I had a lot of help. Lots of time they came in on the new show we were hosting over there, going ass woman. So I said, let me just like, so what happened? You run on your own laptop.
Huh.
What's going on?
So we are talking about disability today. That is something very important. Me, you mean you know each other pretty well. You know I have a disability, and I've been working on it for years. And when you hear the word disability, what comes to your mind?
Disability? Too many things. I can remember one time where I thought I was about to be disabled when I tweaked my ankle to the point where I can barely walk on it for years.
And that's a physical disability.
And what scared me about it, I didn't have health insurance at that time. So imagine I couldn't go to the hospital 'cause I wanted to get a huge hefty bill on my name. So I was trying to use some primal treatment on myself, but it took a while for the pain to erase over the years. So you can imagine how that felt. So you mentioned disability. It doesn't feel right, especially you have been that person who's trying to keep their body in tip-top shape no matter what situation you're in. And get that one mishap that you might have overlooked, and that just screw up everything you have worked over for a long period of time. That sucks.
Hmm.
Trust me, I know.
Now, when you hear people like disability like mine have a reading disability, a speech disability, what comes to your mind?
Reading disability, speech disability. Reading disability, the first thing that comes to my mind is the lack of be able to keep attention, lack to retain word in the mind. There's so many learning disability I've learned over the years from teachers who have brought to my attention. I was like, wow, I never know they existed. There was a term that it was made known in the Cosby Show about people who had a hard time of reading or studying, had to study in a certain way
Hmm.
to retain information. I didn't know that ever existed. Or
Fun fact.
maybe
I'm sorry
because
to cut you off.
the
Go ahead.
maybe because the teaching mechanism or the teaching method they have in the U.S. is completely outdated. Because
Thank you.
when studying in my country, I want everybody to know I'm a Canadian-born Nigerian. When studying in Nigeria, there was a complete different method they were using under the British standard. I found out that the level of education under the British standard is much much higher and greater than the American standard by far.
Hmm.
It got me to the point whereby when I was in the seventh grade, it was easy for me to do ninth grade mathematics like it was nothing. Or maybe because those type of learning method is tuned to my ability. Maybe that's the case. Because when I'm not challenged, I don't think I have a learning disability, but sometimes I think I do. Because when I'm not challenged, I get bored.
I can understand that. So let me ask you a question. Somebody like myself and yourself who traveled between two countries, right, David, for yourself?
hmm 2 to 3
Did you
countries,
three
exactly.
countries? Okay, that's even worse. Three countries, learning three different languages, three different, obviously alphabets, reading, spelling. Do you think you struggled more than most people to pick up, let's say, English, for example?
It's funny that you mentioned English. No, I don't think people really comprehend the difficulty behind when people make the English. Oh, English is the same everywhere.
No, it's not. Fuck you. Fucking English is different in American
No,
English.
the English, the American English is considered to be watered down.
Oh God, yeah.
The British English is considered to be Royal English. Spelling is different, the pronunciation is different, how the word being put together is different. It's like I had to leave behind the American way of speaking English to adapt to the British way of speaking English. And how the worded, how the sentence being constructed, completely different. I was like, damn. God forbid I go to Germany. How does German English sound like?
Oh, that's a different story.
So that when I started to realize, I thought, okay, I don't think people really know what it's like. And you and I will say that you and I are the people who can say we went through our elementary, middle, and high school education through going to two different countries,
Hmm.
and no one understand that dynamic behind that. I started school here in this country first, then I was sent there for almost 7 years in two different time frames, and to go through a complete change of learning the educational system that different from the American education, it does make you feel like, oh, well, I want to go back to this when I realize I've been watered down for like, shit. I'm not,
So, with my experience with Greece, they they don't push you through it. This is where I'm mentioning because Stacey has mentioned this comment, and I actually really want to hit this point really hard. So, the school system anymore just pushes kids through the grades because of the No Kid Left Behind Act, and I think
facts,
fuck you to that
facts,
because
facts.
I prefer my kid left to be 1 year behind and have the extra help or put him into a special program. And I hate the title of ESL or special ed
But I hate
because
to say that, but it's a two-part failure because
correct.
without saying that, as a person who was very attentive, you know that part we put in place. There were some teachers in the public school system that did not care about the student. That was one of the main
Hmm.
biggest fork in the road. Even though they had that policy, a lot of school teachers back in the 80s were not really properly trained to teach kids, or they didn't even care about the kids.
Facts.
They didn't step out of the cookie cutter program. They're just like, well, let's do this, and that was about it. It's only by chance if you met a teacher that really care about that student, they go the extra mile to make sure you learn what you need to learn, and you remember what you learned because of that particular teacher. But if you're a parent and you're not aware, I'm a parent, and I'm a father and a grandfather.
I thought you were a
When
great
you have been
grandfather too.
when you have been to both countries and went to school in those two systems, something stick out like an annoying thorn. You start to realize what's been going on. And I spoke to people who are educated, and I've been brought to my attention. There are public schools that have been watered down for the past 5 to 6 decades on purpose. Too many parents have been completely naive about what's going on with the school policy system in the United States concerning public school. I remember when I had to work for the Board of Education and then when they started this new system called charter school. They started back around 2000, 2001. It was a solution for what was going on in the public school system because public school was not doing anything better to elevate the learning potential of the student. So they felt maybe the charter school be the best bet, but when they saw the progress was growing steadily, they would put so many blockers to make sure it doesn't work. And there were private school. Problem with private school, not too many people can afford it.
Hmm.
Now, I'll let you know there's a loophole whereby some people will send their kid outside the country for the education. Now, it's based on the ethnic group. You're a parent from Africa, Africa will be the best bet. Japan from Asia, let's say for Japan, Singapore, South Korea. I don't think people understand that. That's why I say people in the U.S. get down from their high horse. Japan standard of education far exceed our standard of education as well as South Korea, Singapore, and China. We're nowhere near the top 20, so I don't know why people feel like they're so smart than everybody else when you actually you are dumber than most folk out there. And I'm saying it without no filter because as a parent, I had to do my research several times and see where the United States stand on the global stage when it comes to education. We're not even top. We're nowhere near the top 20 for more than 3 freaking decades.
Our education is so behind, it's not even funny.
For more than 3 decades, we have been behind. That's how bad it is. And the fact that too many people are not freaking aware of it or they didn't care is the reason why you have all these YouTube short or TikTok short when they're showing these people asking these young people a question that they should have known, just quote unquote, they graduate from college, but they have no clue. Simple question. Name 3 countries. They can't even name 3 countries. Give them a simple math equation. They couldn't even solve. I'm like, you got to be. The only thing they know is what reality TV. This is amazing. I remember studying in Nigeria. And what we learn in middle school and what we learn in high school, those who actually study, we end up using those same things outside the four walls of our school. If you were studying physics, stuff you learn in physics, you use it on everyday things. You be to try looking for ways to make your job much easier. We're applying stuff that we learn from physics. Real talk. Not many people can remember what they learned from high school to this day in this country. You know why? What they learned was watered down with garbage. They have no benefit from it. You wouldn't be being challenged. The fact that you have a TV show that say if you're smarter than a fifth grader and you have to compete with a no, let me stop on that one because I'm about to go in. Like that's a joke. Not take education so super serious. It's not even funny anymore. I thought to believe maybe there's no point of having colleges. We start building up better trade school so people can get real skill trade. Screw the college degrees. I'm always on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, different social media. If you're looking at different technology, and I'm watching people create a new method of building homes, building society in a much more efficient and effective way, and yet the U.S. is still outdated to this very day. Like, come on, let's be real. We have this, it's about AI taking people's job. AI should not be taking nobody's job. It should be assisting people with their job. But when you're using AI to take over people's position, then guess what? You just shot yourself in the foot easily. I can't
See,
I can't come. I don't know what it is. I think to me, and I you know what I might well just say it. For a person like me who is a higher allergic to stupid people, I find that maybe we have the most stupid people in this country more than any other nation in this world today. I find that you cannot have intellectual conversations to share ideas, but we have too many egotistic pricks who none more than a full barrel of shit with no substance.
See, I know a
Can,
few teachers in the American school district. I hate to say those words, but it's the best way we can talk about it from in here. Um, one is three. Two is my personal good friend, and the third one is a fellow YouTuber, Dan C. Um, all of them have the same thing. The school system has failed us. So 2 out of 3 that I know off my head, there are not even teachers anymore. So one of my friends, she was a teacher. I don't know how many years. Now she's a social worker because she was done with it. She couldn't do it anymore. Definitely after she said, I remember her telling me after COVID, the union stuff have gone to shit. Like they used to put a percentage of her check away, but how much money she actually spent out of her own pocket for equipment or supplies for the kids. Dan C, same thing. He hasn't publicly announced on his channel how bad it got for him to the point he was like dreading to go to work. I've been in that situation, dreading to go to work. I know how bad it sucks.
oh,
We all have.
I have a hand-on experience with dealing with teachers when I used to work for the Board of Education and back in 2004, 2005. My job
Sorry, Dave. I have
required
a hard time imagining you working for school education. I can see him roundhousing. I'm like, fucking what's that?
no, let me tell you what I did. As a technician at that time, my job was to install data printers and projectors in all the schools in New York City as a team. And we had 5 different teams based on the board. We had a Brooklyn team, we had a Manhattan team, we had a Queens, Bronx, and Staten Island. The two biggest teams were actually the Brooklyn and I believe, with the Bronx team. And there's many times they put text from the Brooklyn team to help out those in Manhattan and Queens. And I end up being the one to be picked the most because of my efficiency. And I've been to over 200 to 300 schools within a year and a half period across New York City. And what I've observed, what I've seen inside of school, I spoke to administrators, I spoke to principals, I spoke to teachers. On average, for a teacher who really care about their student, will spend
Hold that
almost
thought. Hold that thought for a second
okay.
before you move on. I want to put a comment up because it goes well with what you're saying. A lot of teachers spend their own money on supplies for the kids. Stacey, thank you for putting this, especially the one that don't gave anything. Okay, here's a catch 22 here. You have teachers that give a shit and the teachers who don't give a fuck.
And I'm
Two
about
different
to speak
things.
on that.
Yeah. So I remember if you remember a video was a while back, or I say it was the early 2010s. This young guy, young man, long hair. He had like long hair, and he fucking called out the teacher right in the middle and says, "Fuck you." You know, stop putting videos on. You know, maybe you should do your fucking job. Teach us. This is wrong with our. Do you remember that video, any chance?
Oh, that thing went viral.
Yeah. So let's say hello to our Mr. President.
It's good, gentlemen.
What's going on, my brother? How are you tonight?
Forgive me for my afro. I picked it out for today.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So good. Again, the 7B network, we live at peace with our follicle brothers. So again, there's no hate or slide here. So
Uh,
Ladies and gentlemen, I do apologize for Black David's behavior at this moment. So,
I had to throw a joke there. It is comical, but I'm glad you poured me on the car. I was speaking about that part about the teacher because I spoke to a teacher at one high school on Pennsylvania, out not too far from where I live, and she spoke to me and told me what she had noted from other teachers from teacher conference in New York City.
hmm
Is that on average, certain teachers who care about their students spend about $1,500 to almost $5,000 a school year on material needed for the classroom. And what they get back from the Board of Education is less than 1,000, like almost $500 or $700. After they don't spend almost 1,500, almost 5 grand out of their own pocket just to get what they need for their classroom because they don't have enough. And I find that strange. But when I told you I used to work for the Board of Education and they're doing that 2004, 2005. Certain schools were given a hefty budget compared to other schools, and all schools were not made the same. And when I say I was living, I'm in my 20, 23, 24, and I felt like, wow, so that was going on in the school. Fort Hamilton High School had the biggest budget. Brooklyn Tech had the biggest budget. Only a very few selected schools have a huge, but they get tons of computer equipment. Other schools get barely anything. I've been to school whereby the textbook has been outdated for almost a decade.
Hmm.
And when I saw that, being a guy just living computer, you just felt hopeless. You felt useless. You felt like, wow. So they've been going on for so long, we can do nothing about it. Then what's going on with the PTA? Why parents not being concerned about it? Until I became a parent myself in my mid 30s, and I realized what was going on. When my wife at the time was part of the PTA meeting, she told me when she got out to be a secretary, less than 2% of the parents come to school for the PTA meeting. But what like that back in the 80s, what I can remember, a lot of parents came. But now, generation after, nobody care because, oh, I'm too busy to work. No, I'm too busy to come to P. I gotta work. I know the Bennett noted this article about one parent from Baltimore, how how in the world her son could not graduate from high school when he had a huge tardy record. He barely in class. Did they pass him through, but he could not graduate because he missing so many class credits for multiple subjects. I was like, nah, that is not possible. But just like you said, the policy in place, leave no child behind. They skip this path that person along. So when I see that, I'm like, as a parent who is so really concerned about education because of my culture, because we put education as a number one priority as a Nigerian. I don't know about other culture, but our culture we are wired that way. So imagine when we as Nigeria come to the country, we trying to figure out how to navigate this portal of bad education that's all over the place and trying to find what would be the best school to put our child in, or if we have to work 2 or 3 jobs. If the public school is not up to the standard we're looking for, do we got to put them in the private school? And the cost of private school is like a down payment for a house or more.
Private school are so overpriced. It's not even funny.
The
They're
cheapest one in New York City is about 17 to 18 thousand dollars per semester.
I don't believe that. So, Paul, when you hear the word disability, I want to hear your report as a father, obviously. Um, if you're, let's say, pretend for a minute your daughters had disability. I don't know if they do or don't, but let's say they did for argument's sakes. Your feedback. What? Tell me your thoughts.
You mean just having a disability generally?
Yeah, like for example, I have a reading and spelling disability, and you know that obviously.
Hmm.
Um, how would you react as a father?
Um, it's just a task. It's a problem. I mean, I mean, I'm my role as a father is a problem solver at the end of the day. So, I'm gonna, whatever is needed to make sure that my daughters could have a full and as full a life as possible, educationally, pursuing interests, etc. It's just something we would have to overcome. Now,
Hmm.
again, none of my daughters have been disabled, but they've all had, um, conditions that require medications. I mean, they all had, two of my daughters, they had severe asthma growing up. So you talk about the steroids, the prednisone, the breathing treatments, and it was like, it didn't matter. Sometimes it was just environmental where they were. They've had to be hospitalized at times just due to it.
Shit, I'm sorry, dude.
My daughter's had thyroid issues. I mean, they manage it. I mean,
It's part of
it's not
life.
something that is it's been so debilitating where they can't function, but they just got to see how they go. When it's allergy season, my oldest, she gets it can get bad. Sometimes she has to, rather than taking the oral medication, she gets the needle, the pin, the monthly injection to try to
Mm-hmm.
deal with it. But it's just stuff that you overcome. They've all had issues with mental health at certain times. Certainly, like I said, one of my daughters pursuing medical school. It's very stressful. Anxiety, angst. So there's been all kinds of things that they've had to deal with in their life that we just had to create an environment, keep the home environment as stable as possible. I mean, to be going through that stuff and have a home environment that's not stable, certainly, that was something that my wife and I, we pride ourselves on, making sure that they just deal with their situation, but they don't have to worry about us or having a roof over their head. That they can have a foundation, that they can have roots, that they can kind of go and explore the world with. So far, so good. I mean, they still, have their issues they need to overcome on an individual level. But we don't look at it in terms of just disability. We just look at it in terms of these are just obstacles that you're just going to have to overcome, and we go that and we just treat it as such. But if they were like had a severe physical handicap or whatever, again, we would just have to deal with it. I don't think there's no handbook on dealing with these things. You just you know you just do what's needed for them to be whole, and also for yourself to be whole at the same time, because there could be a guilt complex of some kind, in terms of like what way you might have been responsible for this, maybe especially if you're born with a disability of some kind. You can start to blame yourself, like, okay, maybe I didn't eat better, or maybe I should have took better care of myself, or not overstress myself so much. You can just go through that process of beating yourself up. But it's life is about playing the cards that you're dealt, and not everyone gets dealt the same cards. Some people are born with perfect vision. Well, again, no one in my family has perfect vision. They all had glasses. All three of my daughters had braces. I put about $25,000 in their mouths from braces over the years. They didn't come out with perfect teeth, um, and yeah, that was pricey. But you know, again, it's just something to overcome. So I would treat it in that sense, because that's the only way I know how to work. I'm not gonna wallow in self pity, especially over stuff that I can't change. But again, for me, it's always the plan is, okay, where do we go from there? When I was disabled, when I had my accidents and I was in the hospital all that time, the only thing I thought about, okay, what's the plan? All right, so yeah, I got to have these surgeries. I got to wear. I had a leg halo on that I wore for almost a year. I had my jaw was wired shut.
Mm.
I could only eat pureed foods for well over a year. But again, how much of that self pity I'm going to wallow in? It's like, okay, what's the plan? So I got to have these surgeries. I got to be in this position. I had to adopt this lifestyle for a time, and I kind of got good at it. I learned very well how to, make certain pureed foods that I could sort of tolerate um, over that course of time. The only disappointment I had was when it came time for my for the wires to come out. I go there, they open me up, and they discover an infection, and because of that, they had to wire me shut again for a few more months. And that was tough to take, because in my mind, I had, like I said, I had a goal in mind. I had a target that I adopted and I could live with. So I was like, so my whole routine, everything, I just counted the days down. I'm just one step closer to my goal. Now is the day or whatever, and up. Sorry, there's a problem. We gotta do it again. So that kind of broke me a little bit, because again, you're so close to something that you've been desiring for a while, and it didn't come to fruition. But I rebounded once I had my moments of grief for a minute. You reset the goal and you go again. And so that's like I said, that's the only way I really know how to do life. There's a situation, figure out a problem, figure out a solution. How can we get past this, or how we can deal best with what is there, and then move on from it. And learn to live with it. Um, and so I that's so I've been on my back for a while. My kids have had issues with their physical health, with the breathing, and getting the call from school, and got a ticket to the hospital, and all that. So we've all dealt with that. That's the only way I know how to work. If I allow myself to get into self pity, that's just not a good place to be in, and I just don't allow that to. I just don't allow that to happen. I try to stay cool and calm in the midst of whatever's going on. Think rationally, not make rash decisions, and again, play the hand that I'm dealt. So that's how I take all disabilities and whatnot. Um, but I would say, we talked a bit about this on our gray area show.
Mm-hmm.
Mental illness, though, I mean, severe. Like I said, all my kids, they've had, some, like I said, angst and anxiety type of stuff or whatever. But when you're dealing with hardcore mental illness, I don't think I could ever wrap my head around that. Um, Dealing with someone who's bipolar, severe bipolar, or schizophrenic, or that when you start getting to that level of stuff where people like have to be institutionalized for that kind of stuff, I don't know how I got through that. Certainly with my mom. I don't see how people kind of get through it now, because you're literally in bizarro world, and that's just something that is, for those who have people who deal with that kind of stuff. Um, that one is tough because, again, there is no plan. I mean, there's no. You can try to medicate um, some of that stuff, or you can kind of try to have some symptoms subside. Most people who have those level of illnesses never recover from those,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a reality you're gonna have to live with. It's like, well, once you're gonna get better, you don't, because there's so much of, even just in recent years, there's so much with. They're starting to get an understanding that a lot of this stuff has to deal with brain chemical balances and things of that nature, but we know so little about the brain still. I mean, that's still, we talk about trying to go to Mars and all that, but the mind is still very much uncharted territory that people are trying to overcome. So I'm not expecting a medical solution necessarily for that. People manage it, but sometimes I see people manage to the point where they just become zombies, so to speak. I've been in mental institutions. I've been in places where people are or have such severe illnesses. In fact, my daughter, interesting, she's going to school for psychiatry. She works in psychiatry. She's been in actually three psychiatric units at different places, mental institutions. I was like, and I sometimes I ask her, it's like, look, do you really want this? And she's like, yeah. I mean, it says the fact that she's had to deal with anxieties over the years, she wants to, certainly get back and help people in that capacity. But she's been in with the craziest people who are like threatening to kill her multiple times, wanted to assault her sexually multiple times, called her the N word multiple times. Uh, and, you got to have a thick skin in order to deal with that on a regular basis.
She, I
So
give her credit, Paul. She has a very good skin because a lot of people won't be able to put up with that shit.
yeah, yeah, and like I said, you develop a skin for that. So I think she's going to be a great student. She's applying to medical schools now, and I think with her, not only with her academics, but with her practical work experience. I mean, she's
Mm-hmm.
been in the field. She's been in the thick.
She had the
Um,
worst so far.
yeah. So I'm like, if you can handle this now, then certainly, I think getting getting becoming a psychiatrist in this field, hopefully you can do some things, and hopefully science will continue to evolve where they can come up with better solutions. Because like I said, it's like now, it's like the thing is, just drug them up and give them, they just kind of walking around like the living dead.
Let me
Um,
ask you a question, Paul. Now,
yeah.
do you? It's a couple questions actually.
Hmm.
Question number one: do you feel like maybe the way your mother was, her grandmother, saw her how she was with her mental health, kind of pushed her to go into that kind of field?
I can't say she sees some. She hasn't seen the worst of it. I think growing up, we kind of had our kids somewhat protected from that. And also, when my kids were younger, my mom she had a lot more control over it. She got into a place that was manageable for a number of years. So I got to give some credit certainly to the institution and to the folks she was working with. They got her into a good space. That spiraled out maybe about 10, 12 years ago when essentially she stopped working. She kind of took an early retirement, and that's probably the worst thing that happened to her because, again, having a purpose to what you do every day, I think that's just essential. And so once she got off of that, and she wasn't, sort of in the game anymore, again, her mental health kind of spiraled out of control. Again, after being out of control for many years and kind of getting to a level of stability. But as they got a little bit older, they started to see more and more of it. And again, that a lot of that stuff was again once she retired um, you know, uh, that's when it kind of spurred on. So they started to notice, and then we had to have the hard conversations with them in terms of what's really going on, with your grandmother, and being transparent about the experiences. And as they got even older, started sharing more about my experiences, uh, living with her and dealing with her condition over the years. So as age appropriate, we kind of started to share more about that. Well, I did. My wife's side of the family didn't have to deal with that issue, but on my end, like I said, all of us kind of dealt with it, and and a lot of that is also on my mom's side of the family. There's mental illness was in several of my aunts and uncles on my mother's side. So a lot of folks on my mother's side had to deal with that, and this is in the days when either nobody knew about it or that was just like your crazy uncle or your crazy aunt or something like that and so uh back then it was seldom discussed but I remember just growing up when I did live in the South for a number of years. Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of stuff at the time. I didn't, no one diagnosed what it was, but looking back at it as I became an adult, I was like, yeah, this kind of, I can just list aunts and uncles that have just had mental issues. Had some uncles who went to Vietnam, came back, and I don't know if they were the most stable individuals when they went, but they were certainly far less stable when they came back. Um, so that was just a series of things that we started to uncover. So I would say, just get back to the original question. I don't know if it was necessarily a the I would say I would say this actually. I take it back. Actually, it was I would say a bit of a motivator, especially now because she's kind of putting together like her essays, that you write for medical school and whatnot, and basically why you want to get into profession. So I think she's doing sort of a retrospective, looking over her life, looking at the life of her family. In fact, she just got some information, a lot of information I just said about my side of family. She just recently became aware of talking to some cousins of theirs and who are more intimately involved with that other side of the family. So she's getting this whole picture now. It's like, whoa, it's like my whole family's at some point in time has had to deal with this. So she's basically writing that into her essay in terms of her applications and contextualize it to again to where her current mental health is at this point. So yeah, so I would say it's all um, it's all forming a narrative that certainly it would be I think an incredible thing to come from a family of that's had to endure mental illness and now you're helping to treat people with mental illness. I think that's a heck of a story, and I think that's a heck
I
of a
agree.
turnaround.
I have a clear salute for that. That's
Yeah.
honorable. You have to be honest with that.
Hmm.
Before I ask you a second question, I want to give a shout out to our old friend, Lady Noah. She's been disappeared, but I feel like she's back maybe. So, Lady Noah, welcome, and we missed you. Hope you're doing well. Um, Now you mentioned, Paul, you were tied up in bed for a while. Do you want to share that story, or do you prefer
Yeah, I
not
was
to?
in an auto accident when I was 23. So me and some friends were out there, partying, doing our thing, hitting the clubs and all kinds of debauchery. I'll just say that that night.
Young and stupid, in other words.
Yeah, and so we were on our way to Newark, and I got hit head on by there was a high speed police chase. The 16-year-old apparently stole a car from Newark Airport,
Oh shit.
and there was a high speed chase downtown, and he basically hit me head on. And I don't remember the accident per se. All I remember just waking up vaguely, just understand I knew I was in something, and I was told later on they needed to use jaws of life to get me out. And so I had 11 um, 11 leg fractures. I had broken jaw, all kinds of stuff going on there. And so yeah, so waking up in the hospital, and them just working on me, like kind of going in and out. I knew I was in the hospital, and when I finally came to and understood what was going on, said, yeah, I was in certainly fortunate, but the 16-year-old who stole the car didn't make it. He died on impact, and I had a
Thank
friend with
you.
me in the car. He came out. My friend, he had some bumps and bruises, but he was able to walk away from, relatively unscathed. And Which I'm certainly very grateful for because I was driving. So I don't know if I would have been able to deal with that had I lost my friend in that crash. So yeah, so I was on my back, for I said number of months. They literally at that time, this is back again 30 years ago, so they literally just came out with those halos, um, because I had so many fractures, especially in my right leg. They couldn't cast it. It was like multiple compounds, so that halo device literally just came out. And so, had it not been for that, they would have had to amputate my lower leg. So, so again, very fortunate in that situation, and then it just became basically just time to heal. Uh, again, understanding, okay, this is where I'm at. This is the course of action. I got to heal up. I got to get better. And so yeah, so had to deal with the halo. Wake up, brother David. Hopefully, don't do
He's
that to
for
him,
his,
man.
he's out cold.
Man, don't do that to him though. You're on live, man. All right. We love
I'm
you,
putting
sir.
a
You black.
be mute one right now. I gotta keep the
You know how to
sensitivity
do that
mute.
to my man. You can put it back on me. So, um, but yeah, so again, it was just a healing process, and it took, like I said, this was 93, summer of 93. Um, and I really didn't get back to like a normal function until around 95, early 96, when I started, really starting to get back. That's also when I got back into the gym. Because that before that accident, I really was serious about the gym. In fact, I gained over 25 pounds, um, working out and whatnot. So I was really, getting into it. And once I got to a point where I could start working out again, it just took, a number of years to sort of build myself back up. So, I still have, some sensations, in my lower legs and whatnot. Sometimes I got to, definitely keep working out and, whatnot. I was able to build back. You really can't tell, except for the scars. You can't really tell the difference between my legs in terms of leg size and whatnot. So, put the work in. But yeah, it was just about, trying to overcome some things and get back on my feet again. So that was the motivation, and then also in that process, deciding that's when I kind of got my spiritual life in order because you start thinking, you sort of have some of that survivor's guilt. In fact, I talked to the grandmother that kid. She actually called me up, and so she was so apologetic about him and why it happened and whatnot, and but at the time I didn't feel any I wasn't upset at him or anything. It's just because again he didn't make it. So but I was more concerned about her and just her grief in that time more so than mine, because I was thinking, well, look, I'll heal, but you got to live with the loss of your grandson, and whatever
Let me ask
drove
you a
him to
question,
do. Yeah.
Paul. How did you feel when you heard a kid passed away? Did it affect you at all?
Not at the time, no. Simply because, again, I was such, my injuries were so severe that a lot of it, my focus and injuries was just on, the pain and stuff that I was kind of going through at the time. Um, and so that was really, uh, it didn't really hit me about him until she called, and that was several months later. And she was just, again, just the remorse in her voice was, I felt more so she called to kind of check on how I was doing, but I was more so talking to her and, just make sure she was okay. In that time. But again, but that certainly, led me on a spiritual journey, where I want to, kind of get more serious about, I kind of grew up in a Christian, I can't say I grew up in a Christian home, but I certainly grew up in a Christian environment. And I, really want to, kind of, learn a bit more and start trying to understand a little bit more. So I kind of went on a journey, so to speak, over that time. I was still very much, I wasn't necessarily a fan of the church per se, at least the church as I knew it, but I wanted to, um, get a better core understanding of what Christian belief was, and that kind of led me, on a journey where the accident was in '93. I accepted Christ as my Savior in January of '94, and it's been, pretty much then ever since, so 30 years. But yeah, but it was just a long, um, so building myself spiritually, building myself physically. 96 is when I met my wife, because I was able to get a new job. I was able to get back into the workforce in like mid 95 into early 96. I met my wife in early 96, and sort of the rest is history after that. So I can definitely say that, um, even with all those things that happened, if things didn't happen in the way that happened, my life would be very different. I mean, I wouldn't have my wife, at least not, I wouldn't have her, and I may have very different kids and all that. So I don't, people always ask that question. Well, if you can change something, what would you change? I'm like, at this point, nothing. Um, I wouldn't change a single thing about my life, despite everything I had to endure growing up, adulthood, the injuries, the accidents, everything up to a point. I just appreciate, I just appreciate everything at this point. So no, I wouldn't change a thing in terms of how my life has gone so far, and I just anticipating, where it goes from here.
That's a very fascinating story, I believe, because that probably, if the accident never happened, that wouldn't mold you to man you are today. Do you agree or
Yeah,
disagree?
no, totally. But I think that's what life is. It's like, they say pressure either breaks bust pipes, or makes diamonds. And, this is a life of struggle. I know I think you were talking earlier about work, um,
Mm-hmm.
and the importance of work, and then the importance of toil. I mean, I just speak from a spiritual perspective. After the fall, God told Adam, like, look, you're going to work this ground by the sweat of your brow. So work, so life is about toil. Life is about stress. Those who, tend to have life a little bit too easy, don't appreciate things. They don't value. I was having a conversation with some friends who were, talking about vacation, because again, my wife and I told you last show, we're thinking about some vacation spots, and I was talking about the being in vacation venues where you can overhear people or whatnot, and they're in a vacation spot that very few people get a chance to go to, and they're not happy. They're complaining about everything, complaining about the food, complaining about the drink, complaining about this, complaining about that. It's like, you're in a privileged position. I remember when I went to Disney World a few years ago. Guy said that less than 1% of the world ever comes here. Um, I mean, it's, as many visitors as they get, it's still less than 1% of the world. So I mean, imagine if yourself in another part of the world where you don't even get a chance to experience this stuff. So yeah, so I think going through struggle, overcoming struggle, being humbled, being on your back, getting things in order. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the the growth, and I kind of treat it that way even with my training now. When I train clients or when I train myself, this isn't meant to be an easy workout. You know, I mean, I push myself and I push others to failure. I don't. We trained a little bit. I kind of showed you what I kind of put people through in a workout. That's how it is, because you don't grow unless you hit those failure points. And like I said, not every workout is gonna, if you say working out is fun, I don't want to work. I don't want that workout. Muscles have to be broken down. Most muscles have to, you need muscle tearing, and there's a recovery process. And when the muscles recover, they get bigger, they get stronger, they can handle more stresses than before. But unless you put your body through that, you'll never grow. So, so I used to be hardcore. It's like, look, if you're not on the floor or half passed out after a workout, you didn't work out hard enough. I mean, I had that kind of philosophy for years. Um, but I wouldn't have the gains. I wouldn't have the look. Like I said, I was almost 90 pounds lighter than I am now. I mean, I was like 147 pounds when I graduated college. Got up to about a buck 75 before my accident. Had to build myself up back again. But if you want, transformation, you got to work hard. You got to, whether it be in school, your job, physical training, yeah, it's going to be painful. You've studied martial arts. Martial arts is painful. You get kicked in the groin and all other places that, you know, that's just tough, but that's the only way you grow. You got to be pruned, in life. So yeah, so me going through all that, had I not gone through that, if any one of those events did not happen, that even might have made my life a little bit easier. I don't know. Like I said, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So I've also learned also just to appreciate the moment, to appreciate the present. I live in the present. Yes, I have plans, I have desires for the future, but I learned to also to enjoy the present, to enjoy the moment that I'm in. And that's why one of the reasons I've never had to, use drugs or drink alcohol or anything like that. I've never had to go through those things because I enjoy the present. I enjoy the moments. I don't want to put myself in such an inebriated state that I forget. Oh, what happened last night? No, I remember everything. So I enjoy. I just enjoy life. I get up every day. I'm just grateful. I'm thankful. I go to work. A lot of people talk about, oh, this job sucks or whatever. I just have a spirit of gratitude. I just got a new job. This is my seventh month on this new job, eighth going on 8 months on this new job, and I just go to work every day just thanking God that I have it. Do I like commuting 2 hours a day? Not always, but I'm grateful. I just live in, we went out, had a little happy hour, went to a spot, got some wings, hung out, had conversations or whatnot, just getting to know the team better and whatnot. And I'm like, I'm just thanking God. This is, for all the people who have more than me. That's the thing about it. I mean, you can have, you got millionaires, who are just not happy about anything, or not happy with their life, or just frustrated, or don't have any real friends, or don't have anybody who loves them, or there's just so many things that you know people would trade money for, and I don't. So so yeah, so it's definitely living in the present, enjoying the present, liking myself a lot more over the journey, liking the man I've matured into. We talked the last show about parenting or taking care of your parents. The man I became when I had to take on that task of taking care of both parents. Because, like I said, none of my other siblings were in a position to really do anything. So this was like I had to do all this on my own, and many trips to the bank, to the legal office, to the law office, to the social security office, to the doctors, to finding living arrangements, and just a lot of things that as like, look, if this is going to get done, it's like I got to do it. And having a supportive wife, 'Cause I told my wife, especially after my dad died, I said, "Look, I'm not going to be available to the kids very much over the next few days, if not few weeks. 'Cause I got a lot of stuff I got to, handle. I mean, how do you deal with the death of a parent? There's legal work, there's wills, there's insurance policies and all kinds of stuff that I got to deal with. And I was just very frank with my wife, and she was like, "I got you. Do what you got to do. I take care of the kids. I take care of everything else. You just take care of your father. Make sure your family's good. You just take care of all of that." And so again, having that support base really allowed me to, really allowed me to grow up more. So again, I just thank my wife for not um, making a situation any worse, but giving me a support for me to go out and do what I needed to do and not worry about, hey, you're not spending time with your kids or whatever. It's like, no, it's like handle what you got to handle, and let us know if you need anything else. That's all I really needed, um, in that regard. So yeah, man, it's you know, that's that's long story, but that's how I kind of overcame a lot of things and continue to overcome because life is things are going to hit you one way or another, and I'm just hopefully I'm everything that I've overcome up to this point, that I hope that I'm better for the next thing. You know what I mean? And I truly believe that. I think God
Hmm.
puts you through trials to build you up, just like a workout. You come out the workout, you should come out better or stronger than you were before. So that just prepares you for the next thing that comes your way. And
Yeah, I totally agree. So,
so that
David,
works for
are
me.
you awake now?
Yeah, forgive me. I've been busy all day.
You don't have to apologize, brother.
Dude, you're
This
good,
is
good.
this is
But
this
I
is
gotta
this is
say,
a
I've been
safe
up for
house. This
24
is a
hours,
safe.
so
You're in a protected place, brother.
I know
I'm still
because
clipping that, by the way.
when we talk about the educational part and everything, that took me like to a deep zone. I mean, my head like, damn, how to deal with this topic? Because at one point I was thinking of yanking my kid out of the school and go to another school district, but New York City put a clause to prevent parents from taking kid out from one school district and put them to another school that might have a better school, unless you live in that school district kind of thing. And you know how it gets set up. If you live in a rich neighborhood, you might be in a better school district.
Hmm.
You live in a poor neighborhood, you got a shitty school district. So you can imagine all the shenanigan games they've been playing.
Hmm.
So, David, so
So,
tell me, talk. I'm sorry if I
go,
can
no,
ask
go,
a
go, go,
question.
go, go.
So, in Nigeria, from the time you were there, I mean, what's that school system like?
Is the Nigeria is considered the United Kingdom colony, so they're under the British standard of education.
Hmm.
And the British standard of education is no joke. It's it's practically way better by a huge margin than American standard of education.
Hmm.
Because the way they designed the secondary school, I had to get them proper. When I think about it, comparing the two, I prefer the British more than American. Because, for example, 7, 8, 9 grade should be a preparation grade to prepare you to what kind of classes that your 10th, 11th, 12 are going to be like. Either you're fully technical, will be in technical courses. If you're fully into science, it'll be science courses. Will be commercial courses for commercial student and art student. That's how the class was set up in the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade in Nigeria, but they don't call it that. The 7, 8, 9 were considered to be junior secondary school, JSS 1, JSS 2, JSS 3. Then the 10, 11, 12 were considered to be the senior secondary school, will be SS1, SS2, SS3. When you get to the SS classes, you're broken into four categories, like I mentioned: technical, science, commercial, and art.
Do they only have 4 blocks over there during per semester?
Excuse me?
Is like 4 blocks only versus like 6 blocks some schools have?
I mean, four black doing like what you mean by that?
Like
Describe.
first period, second period, third period, and fourth period.
They
Because
had
some
period.
schools
It's
do
like up
four
to
blocks
eight.
or 6 blocks.
They're like 7 to 8 blocks.
Okay.
But like I said, the way the senior school was set up is set up to put people in the right direction, depending on how that grade determine where they are strong at. If you're strong at science technical, you're more toward the science and technical classes. If you're strong at commercial and art, then you'll be going toward the commercial and art classes. This way you pinpoint people in the direction where they need to be. But the elementary school standard of education was never been a joke. It was very competitive to the point whereby among the classes there's a level of competition among the sexes. Now even a classroom whereby the boys had a level of pride and dignity. They don't want to feel left behind by the girls. They compete for the top three one position, first, second, and third. Mostly happened toward to the whole into science and technology, but on the commercial art type of thing, it's a mix depending on who comes out on top. But mathematics is not the same level. Science and technology in the senior high is at one level higher compared to commercial and art.
Mhm.
So
So
when I
so
saw that,
in
when I saw that structure, I had the imprint in my head because I was looking at it like every time I go to eat class, like this is not like US. US is not like this. This US is not like no. We didn't
Now,
have this type of major like that. We didn't have
now,
this type
David,
of
let me
course.
ask you a question. When it comes to finding somebody kid have a disability versus Americans, how would you think they handle that differently?
Ooh, good question. Um, I would say the teachers under the British standard are more keen to point it out easier than American teachers. Based on the curriculum was set up for them, because they can tell based on how you progress in certain subject. I think the thought that mostly point them out the most, especially in math and science. Like if they're not able to grasp certain subject in math that seem to be a struggle to try and see where it could be the case and they're trying to figure out and work on that. If they realize there's some kind of learning disability, they will put you in a special class for that, whereby they may help you with that type of
Like
issue.
special ed?
So, but it's not special ed. It's more like
so let me ask you. So
we're
you had mentioned you had mentioned a
trying to see a
couple
different
things.
method of no, you to
Now
go
you had
ahead.
mentioned a couple things. I just want to go back to. So you talk about classes and the sexes. So in Nigeria, they don't make any distinctions between boys and girls when it comes to education. That girls have equal access to educational opportunities the way that the boys do. Because I know in some parts of Africa or whatnot, or depending on where you're at, women access to education is somewhat limited
I'm
based
glad
on
you mentioned
religious
that
beliefs or
part.
whatever.
That
So,
I'm glad you asked. That's a very great question. Where I was living in Nigeria, I was living at the south. Let me see. I think southeast of the country. That's where Lagos is.
mhm,
It's equal access to both boys and girls, but those who live in the north, the Islamic region,
yeah,
is mostly a I can't call it political, but religious issue because based on those who practice Islam, northern region of Nigeria, they sometimes put the Islamic way of thinking. They rather have the boy get education and girl to get a little to know to get that job it to be in the kitchen, which is kind of outdated on multiple level because it's kind of like sexist in a way.
yeah.
But when I was in the southern region or southeast region of Nigeria, with equal access, but the parents, I would say, somewhat put a mental pressures on boys than girls, which create a competitive environment within the classroom. You know what I'm saying? That there's a level of pride that reflects on boy, whereby boy had to be a leader, can be falling behind in education. So it'd be kind of embarrassing if you're not striving for a top position in your class
Hmm.
in some cases. So I was one of those kind of people who was very competitive, mostly in math. I felt like I had no competition, and I made sure I take number one position by all means necessary.
Right.
Even though I
So
compete with,
even in
even
cases
even even I
where
compete with my boy peer, I was like, no, I'm not giving out number one position to nobody. That's how I
right.
was.
But no, but I'm saying, but even in those areas where you say access to education was equal between boys and girls, there was still a mindset or mentality though that to be number one, or you can't lose to a girl,
Reason
even
why
if it's equal access.
that's more common in the science and the technical aspect of classes, but with commercial art, they're more laid back. There's not much of a care.
Hmm.
But for people into science and technology, we are people who want to, in most cases, be engineers.
Right.
The technical part of it, either it would be a chemical engineering, medical kind of engineer, or electrical engineer was the big deal. As
Hmm.
same as people who push on the medical field. So there's a level of, I don't want to call it hunger, because this supersede hunger. Because we know in Nigeria there are certain exams you have to take it based on the British standard, but some are hoping to be able to study abroad.
Hmm.
And since I left that country, I didn't realize it had been a huge trend in working in the West African region where many trying to apply to studying abroad. You can study in the UK, like Cambridge University or Oxford University. You can study in Japan. You can study in South Korea. You can study in China. You can study in Germany or even in Russia. So that has been a thing that's been going on for many decades after I left. Because they're a unique opportunity that yes, they do let people apply for these such programs where but they're able to go outside the country and study in these various countries, most likely outside of the US.
Hmm.
And it's based on the program that are unique agreement with the countries that allow you to come and study on in their school system. It created a level of competition whereby they acquire certain skills they can bring back to the country.
Hmm.
How in the US you call it the foreign exchange to the program. I remember I was in college, they had it out here, and I was beating myself to this day. Like, if I could have taken that program, I would have studied it either in Japan, South Korea, or Germany.
Hmm.
Either of the three. That's my first thing that came to my mind because I'm not gonna lie. I don't like when I'm going to the educational system. They don't feel like they're not pushing, not challenging you. It feel like it's just a waste of time because look at it today's educational system. How often you have these people retain what they learn from school, even from high school, even in college. You can pick them. You can pick them, and you can tell if they actually retain anything or not.
Hmm. Yeah. So, what do you think is key to retention compared to what's going on here? How are students able to?
It,
It,
I would say this, but I would think my word would not be alone. It's all boiled down into the curriculum that will be constructed for them.
mm,
What kind of classes or course were being put in place?
mm,
Because I remember looking at a private school in the U.S. here. It is almost as similar to that what I saw in my country compared to the private school we had over there. Private school to next level.
mm,
Because in private school you have two standard of math. You have ordinary level, based on British standard, and advanced level
mm,
mathematics. And this what we're in advanced level mathematics. We did it back in high school. But I hate to say this, but the advanced level mathematics that was done back in the 10th, 11th, 12th grade back in my country was actually equivalent of the math level in the first, second, and third year in college.
Right, right,
This is why I said the Minnesota had an edge over the United States level of education. And what we were taught in high school was being taught in college in the U.S.
right. But there's still a drain that seems to be going on because one thing, from what I'm hearing, just in this part of the conversation, is that certainly on K through 12, there's better educational systems around the world for younger people. But we did a show on this a couple months ago in the gray area. When it comes to college, it's not even close in terms of like, you have like in Greece, for example, most Greek students actually go outside the country, and certainly the United States is the number one country for college education, and it's by orders of magnitude. Like take all those other nations combined, and it doesn't match the U.S. So it seemed like something about U.S. is good as far as the colleges and universities, the masters and doctorate programs or whatnot. They excel at that, but the K through 12 is bad. Whereas like in these other countries, that K through 12 seems to be superior, but there's no opportunities for graduate college and up, so they have to go outside the country to these other
And
areas. So it seems
I'm
like
glad you
you
mentioned.
got to bracket.
I'm glad you asked me that question. 'Cause I wish I was on the show to talk more about it. The college education in Nigeria at the time, there was some issue due to the political atmosphere at the time.
Hmm.
When I was there, we was under the military dictatorship. So it have a handle to what was going on in the college, like whereby there was so many coups that were taking place in my country.
Mm.
Need to be a joke, whereby if we enter college at the age of 16, you should graduate at the age of 27. And I could understand that joke at first, and they explained to me there's so much coup that was going on. They forced people to take a huge long break from college. The break can last from a few months to a few years before you get back.
Well, it seems like also with a lot of these coups or a lot of these dictatorships or whatnot, they're almost like they're anti-education, or they look at educated people as a threat to them
Bingo.
I
because you
think
see
you
on
just hit
college
a nail
campuses and whatnot.
on the
Bingo.
nail.
That had
It's
been the. I'm glad you mentioned that. Because at first, when I tried to say that out there, I would be told to shh. I don't know what you mean by that, but it
Mm,
is. Because I remember Fela Kuti Butter with a very educated individual in our country. He was exiled from our country because of his level of insight what going on. He saw what was happening and he pointed out the obvious what will affect our country. And
mm,
to this day, he has been correct. He has been on point, which is
mm,
very shocking because we had the potential of having great engineer, great scientist, great banker, great lawyer, etc. But when not enough money being invested in education, people have to either go to England or go to France or go to Germany
mm.
or go to Japan, South Korea, and China. Those are the number of countries I mentioned that have been a number one target for African students to go
Right.
for the educated beside the US. And we are saying that if you look at which are the countries where the best products are coming from. If I say it come to electronics, without a shadow of a doubt, most products are made in Japan, made in Taiwan, made in China, right? Don't forget Germany's in the mix.
Mm.
Don't forget Singapore's in the mix. Some of the best technology is not coming from the US, it's coming from outside the US.
and if you really think about it, most of the iPhones are not even built in America. They're built
Yeah,
overseas,
yeah. But
China.
that's more so like a that's a
And,
cost.
and
That's a
it's,
cost
it,
thing.
it's
But
not just the cost. I looked into that thing a long time ago. It's also the educational level of experience because the people who were trained to work on these electronics, shout out to Lima's Tips, Tech Tips. There's a market in China. A, a mall in China whereby you can actually build your phone from ground up. All you do is pick the part you need for your phone. You put it together and you have your phone right there and there. Same thing with computers. And there was no more like that in the US. And the reason why is based down on the educational level. People out there have the top level education that can do these things on their own free will without paying anybody. There's the reason why it requires a high level skill set to work in these factories to build these smart devices.
Mhm.
Now, hang on a second. Let me ask you both you guys a question. When you guys hear China or Japan, I can't remember which one it is. They have China, I believe, has the best education system out there. What do you guys think about that?
Um, Again, it depends on like I said earlier, it depends on what level you're talking about. Like I said, K through 12. There's a lot of countries I think that do it better than the U.S. Haiti has a better educational system than the U.S., and that's like a third world nation. So, but when it comes to colleges and universities, that's where America still seems to
Struggle.
still have an advantage, at least in terms of the numbers, in terms of number of foreign students and whatnot that come here and pursue that. The path to get here seems to be a lot easier, and they're not afraid of. I mean, we even seen it recently. With the conflict that's going on in Israel right now, college is a place of conflict. It's a place for protest and things like that. I remember we used to protest back in the day, free South Africa. So college has not only been the place just for education, but it's also been for the expression of ideas and ideology and to talk openly about things. So I think even the collegiate educational system here has advantages in that for the first time, you have young people actually to really be able to express themselves in ways that they couldn't do in these other countries. Remember back in China, back in the day, Tiananmen Square, where they were running tanks over people. You know what I mean? So that came out of a protest, but they suppress it. But here, you can be more of a free thinker here, in addition to getting your education. So I think that's part of the draw that a lot of people find in coming here. So really, I think it depends on the I think it depends on the time. You might be America might be good here through pre-K and into kindergarten or whatever. Plus, you have different options in terms of, do you want to do Montessori? Do you want to do private or whatever is good there? But again, once you get from kindergarten and up, or and even I would even say K through 6, I would say isn't terrible here. I think once you start getting into like middle school / high school, I think that's where you start to see the drop off. And then again, if you get into a college or university, I think it kind of goes up and kind of shows itself again. So it's really it's I don't want to make a blanket statement that says, this country has a better educational system than ours or whatever. It depends on what you're looking for and what comes with that. For those places that say they have it, do are people, North Korea, I'm sure, has a pretty decent system because they got one of the largest militaries in the world. I'm sure there's a lot of scientists over there. I'm sure people are well educated. Would you want
One
to
thing
live
I
in
want to
North
add to
Korea
that
though? I don't. I don't.
is the
I don't know.
colleges. If we're coming to vaccines, technology, all this stuff comes out of the colleges first. People think it
Hmm.
happens in a laboratory in this big ass, you know, I don't know, company. It really doesn't. It comes out of most universities.
Yeah. And keep in mind also those universities are oftentimes backed by not only just state and government funds, but also private. I mean, a
Hmm.
lot of the corporations, the pharmaceutical corporations, they link up. Pfizer and all that. They would, they work with a lot of the universities to develop, vaccines and things like that. So there's a lot of the money
Uh,
that is
it,
available.
it's more of a global thing. You're correct. It's more of a global thing. But if I want to target, if anyone go into auto engineering or auto industry, the best industry in the automobile are either in Germany or Japan, if I'm correct,
Sounds
especially
pretty right.
Germany, because you gotta go over there to master the educator behind the auto industry. as well as China fall into the mix as well.
See, I know a lot of people love German engineering. I hate it with a passion.
Why?
When I used to work on cars, and every time I see a Volkswagen come in, I used to cringe. And I used to try to hide behind a toolbox. I didn't get that car, and I always get it. Like a tune-up, at least years ago, it was such a pain in the ass because I was in a Chevy dealership, for example. Somebody's bringing a freaking Volkswagen in a Chevy dealership. It's harder for us to do it because we don't have the right tools, like in German, like
Like,
Volkswagen and
I
so
see what you're saying.
yeah. So
I,
half the engine had to come out to get to, because how tight it is. It's literally a thousandth of an inch to get your screw. You can't even get in there.
is
So
Honda the Japanese car or is it
Yes.
the Japanese car? So
Honda's
I don't
not.
want to leave.
It's Korean.
I don't want to leave Japan out of it, but Japan also another top contender for the auto industry.
Yeah,
When you mentioned the
Hyundai is
keyword,
another good one too.
you
That's
mentioned
Korean.
tuner car, right? And Japanese have designed their car to be easy accessible for tuning.
Very modular.
Oh
But
yeah,
for
Toyotas are
German,
definitely.
but German car, like you mentioned, it could be very difficult because they are the approach in designing car is much different than the Chinese. Chinese a little bit more modular in a way that you can customize to the next level. German, you have to understand their technology. Because think about it, the Audi factory, right? To build their top class brand of cars, you got to be of a certain age to be a part of it. That's number one. And it's not done by machine, it's done by hand. So people with a
Hmm.
certain amount of experience, a certain age, had to be a part of that particular team because it's a level of perfection they have making their cars. And there's so much competition in German automobile industry. It's not even funny. Alone, you say Volkswagen, you say Audi, you can say Mercedes Benz, and there's other competition among themselves who make the best
There are a lot more
cars.
companies in Germany that we don't know the names of. We know the big ones: Mercedes, BMW, Volkswagen, Audi. Those are four ones of my head right now. But living in
But a
Europe,
lot more.
I saw other cars, German cars. Like I can't even fucking pronounce them. To be honest with you, I'm like, like, and they're
And
good cars.
that's the thing. It's like based on whatever industry we go into cars, Germany, Japan, China. Um, I'm not sure Singapore is a mix because I know China is helping a lot of industrial age in Africa on the auto industry right now. They're teaching you how to build a car, truck, SUV, and bus in a way that these people can make their bus on their own now. They can make their car on their own, and they're doing better now. They're building their own car, their own brand, doing things different. But it's not AI, it's not robotics. They're in the beginner
On a
stage,
side
but
note, I know this is not Germany, but if you remember the Saab cars, they used to remind me of a old U-Haul for some reason. Anytime I saw one going by, but they were
Mm.
good cars. I'm surprised they got discontinued actually in the states.
and that's the thing. But the fact that they're not using too much robotic and AI over there, it allows people to use the ingenuity to design cars that will fit the needs of the people. I think it's best. And it creates a level of appreciation of the craft they put in. I think that's what the problem we have in America right now because everything is so outsourced. Literally everything. We don't make our TV. We don't make our computers. We don't make our smartphone. Almost everything is made
I
outside the U.S.
remember at one point when TVs, there were those box TVs if you remember. Uh,
Zenith.
yeah, what am I saying? You probably remember. You were
I
probably a
didn't mention
teenager when
one.
they came out.
Zenith is one of them.
What's up?
Zenith. Zenith
I was
TV was
actually
one of the
that's where I was
TV.
going with this. That was like that. Am I mistaken? That was an American company, was
It
it?
was made in U.S. I know.
So my
JVC
brother's
at
trying to
one
get a
point used to be manufactured in the U.S. Trust me, I did that homework heavy. I did work in Best Buy and
so
Walmart.
companies that Americans used to buy, and they were educated in American engineering, like Ford. Let's go. if these, like like some, like, I hate to sit there and say, German is better or Japanese is better or Australian is better, whatever. Yes, I might have a Samsung TV right now, but give me one good American brand TV right now that can do
None,
better than Samsung.
none.
Name another, between iPhone and Samsung and Google that do better that can make in America, because iPhone is not built in America. None.
But I
Um,
think the current business model, I think a lot of people are fine with that.
no, they fine with it as long they make a profit from
That's
it.
what I'm saying. I mean, there's no incentive to again to make things in the U.S. I mean, to outsource. I mean, and that really started in the '70s, right? So you had that boom period in the '40s, '50s, and '60s after the war, after World War II. People went to work in those factories or whatnot,
It,
built up the middle class, and created that generation. '70s they started outsourcing jobs when computers and automation started to come in the factories and whatnot.
70
And
and 80s
yeah, and then companies started outsourcing stuff overseas. The world got smaller, technology linked the world.
and 90, Clinton add more to the problem.
Yeah, the NAFTA deal. Yeah, so I mean that's so yeah, companies are always gonna it's hard to expect, especially with these multinational corporations, to necessarily have a national interest.
But
Back in the day, it's almost like when you had a Cold War, that's when people had national interest in things. It was national security risk that you wanted certain things made in your country, so as not to. Now that I think they're trying to do that now with the microchips. I think with
it's way too late for that because
it might. I'm just saying, but that's the sign that they're realizing that now that China is seem like they're becoming more of an adversary now, whatnot, that they want to own some of the technology, especially if they say if China takes over Taiwan, then that could lead the microchip processing in as a security risk. So
but
that's why I think they're bringing it back. But
Absolutely.
the
now
bottom line is just my general statement is that Cold War or state of war always tends to nationalize the nation when you start to invest in the people in your nation. That's
but
generally
it
what happens.
but here the logic behind it that what the case then you would have pumped a whole lot more money in education so you can have more stuff built here than have it then outsourced out there
Have you
because
met?
when
Again, the Cold War ended in the late '80s. So
you're right, the cold
David
no the
was
cold
only a freaking 30 back then.
what's
but
that?
David was only 30 during the Cold War.
here the thing is
Oh, geez, don't do that.
I pay too much attention no I pay too much attention to what's going on. Then I look at the bigger picture. If the Cold War ended at the 80s, then why is that they keep stealing money from public school education for more than 4 to 6 decades? What was the point of
Again, because again, back in the day, in the '60s, '70s, when we were going to the moon, they put a ton of money into education. Because again, you need to train up all those engineers and
Here's
all
a
those
fun fact
folks
for everybody.
in order to again to beat the Russians. So that's when the American educational system was at its best. When you had an adversary that you had to compete against. Again, when it was a natural. I mean, we competed on everything. The Olympics. We got the Olympics coming up in 24. It's like it's almost like, are there any really, does it doesn't mean for us, it doesn't mean as much as it did back in today as it did back in the day when US beat the Russians in hockey in 1980 or whatever. That, like, the whole nation got behind that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was
Hmm.
there was a sense of such a national pride. Now you got people who don't even live in the country says, look, let me run for Sweden, or whatever, because they'll give me an honorary citizenship just so that Sweden can get into the Olympics. So again, you don't have that national. Un, Unfortunately, that's just how human. Necessity is the mother of invention. We say, right? So unless there's something that's going to scare you to death, it won't mobilize a nation. When was this country last unified? 9/11. Certainly mobilizing people or whatever. But that's just how humanity works. And no one's just going to do something just to say, hey, we need to do this to do this. Now, there has to be a motivation. And back then, when Kennedy made that speech at Rice University, 1962 at Rice, if you ever read, I've watched that speech several times. He was very intentional. We're going all in on this, and we're going to need, we need to bump up the school systems, the companies that are going to be built. It was a national fervor, billions of dollars in that time. And he's like, look, we got to do this. We got to get to space. We got to get there first, and we got to get to the moon before the Russians do. And so that galvanized the nation in that effort. But we got to the moon first, and for a time we were technologically superior in a lot of instances. But
at
once
that time.
once that threat went down in the late 80s, 89, and when the wall came down, who you fighting, or who was going to pose a threat? There was nobody until now, where now you see China as a potential economic and possibly even military rival in the future. It may have to get to that level of hostility.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because that same speech you talk about Kennedy was mentioned. I recall Obama had that same kind of speech on his first term when he mentioned how he see the infrastructure of all the countries way ahead of us. Our infrastructure are falling behind
Hmm.
XYZ when to get our people into certain level of education, STEAM programs, stuff and so on, right?
Hmm.
But as I remember hearing that thing, crystal clear, I thought to realize on that to look out. There were too many policies that these politicians allowed to happen. So, quote unquote, there was a time Dell used to manufacture computers in the U.S.
Right.
What they did, they gave them a loophole to take the job outside for cheaper production. But I remember telling somebody this way back. That will be the Achilles heel to production in the US. When you going outside for cheap production, then you realize one thing will happen. They will come to that level whereby you have two choices: either pay them the way you should have paid your American workers over there, or you bring that shit back and you might well have to double it. Because first and foremost, you shun them out. At the time what to build a PC in Dell factory used to be around 18, $19 an hour at the time here. You took the job away from these people, took it overseas where people only build a computer for less than $4 or $5 an hour.
Correct.
So you ripped them off for that. So you could get a huge profit. And when you did such a thing, not only that you weaken your infrastructure, you weaken everything. Everything was so much outsourced. I call it they were the downfall of the United States
Yeah.
right off the back.
Yeah.
I say not just only education, everything that you have right now because you want them to bring the factory, but here what people did not realize. You have to bring the super chip factory over there. How many people from the United States public educational system will be qualified to work in that factory?
Hmm.
No one think about that. This is why I laugh. I'm sorry, and people watching this one, y'all played yourself in a major way. Yes, you signed that deal so that them to come build their chip factory over here, but what make you think they'll hire your workers over there? Do you have the educational level to work in those type of factories? Have you thrown money back into the educational system like you're supposed to? No, y'all didn't. So guess what? The H-1 visa, you had to pull out a huge cargo load for that because you know
Oh
why?
yeah, that's not going. That's not going anywhere. Yeah, the H1s, for sure. That's not going anywhere.
For to maintain the chip factory here, you need high skill level engineer who can
That is
work
true.
on your factory and they're not coming from the US. Period.
Yeah.
So this is why
Yeah.
as a person who foreseen it decade ago, I laugh about it.
Mhm.
So all
No,
these politicians, they completely clueless what they got themselves into.
yeah. No, it's
So when I
definitely
say this,
it's an issue.
it's more like I said, I told you so. You played
Mhm.
yourself.
I don't. Well, I think it's symptomatic. If you look at history, it's symptomatic uh, uh of a superpower. It's symptomatic of someone who's been on top for a long period of time. As I said earlier, I think war has a lot to do with that. When a country, it's like when you're on top of the mountain, you're always going to fight harder to get to the top of the mountain than try to fight to stay on the top of the mountain. So, it's hard to stay on top. Again, we beat the Russians to space. We essentially won the Cold War or whatnot.
hmm
Where's the urgency?
and I
And
get
what I'm saying is
and I
I
get that
think
part.
people are starting to see it, but, like you said, you gave up 30, 40 years of ground. You didn't keep you didn't keep the
40.
but that's hard to do for anybody. It's like take any sport. When you're the champion, it's hard to stay the champion. It's one thing to become the champion. It's hard to stay the champion. What's gonna get you up every day when you're number 1, to stay number 1? That's very difficult to do. And every nation, if it happened to the Romans, if it happened to the Greeks, if it happened to the British Empire, I mean, all these empires that controlled half the world, it happens to the best of them. So I think we might be on the precipice of either going in that direction as a nation, or people get their act together and try to and try to reverse course. But that's that's
Mm-mm.
that's the site to me. That's the site. No one stayed on top forever. And keep in mind, I mean, you've had dynasties been for thousands of years, but certainly that gap is shrinking. We're only a 270-year-old nation, and we're already saying we're all we kind of either reached our peak or past it, unless we do something different. But
About a decade and a half ago, some top scientists said something that I said 2 decades ago. They consider America nothing more than a modern day version of the Roman Empire, and I said that 2 decades ago, not 15 years ago. That the scientists I called it out two
mhm,
decades ago. Because I
yeah,
saw the pattern clear there. Because when you have that level of ego and pride, like you think will be on top, technically speaking, they lost the top a long time ago. They was
yeah,
never on top for the longest. They pretend to be on top, but every other country surpassed them. Let be the news flags. The United States have behind the technical curve for more than 10 to 15 years. We have been behind for the longest. So you were never on top. That one show, I forgot what that show was. There was a clip that it was a viral clip based on a particular show, and they asked the professor, "Is America the greatest country?" And he said no, and he broke it down into statistics. Well, we number one in. We're number one in putting so much people in prison. We're number one. We have the most homeless people. And that clip went viral. It was a TV show.
yeah. I remember it. Yeah, the guy he played. I think he was a news reporter or something like that. Yeah, I
Yes, with
remember that. It was
with
on
a,
HBO. Yeah.
that right there, what brilliant masterpiece. And when he said it, I said, yes, yes. And that was politically real what's going on in the US.
Hmm.
What he said there was really the actual unfiltered truth about America by far. And no one want to pay attention to that. Cause look at the tech industry. Who dominate the tech industry? Not American people. What are the ethnic groups that dominate the tech industry? Asian, Middle Eastern, number one. Number two, Africans. And following them, and a few American here and there.
Hmm. But the crazy thing about it, though, even when you talk about the Africans, that will they ever be able to leverage? Will the nation state be stable enough to leverage the resources of their people?
And that's the
And
problem because
that's something that's not going to happen anytime soon. So,
no, it's happening, but in a very unique way. With I've been following the news, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing because certain countries allow themselves to be played by the European as well in America. My country for on the list already. Number one,
mhm.
the fact that we have this idiotic fool of a president who tried to destroy their own currency to replace it with the U.S. dollar. But look, what do you think they're gonna do? There are several coups already whereby 5 different African countries removed themselves from a ruling organization and say, F y'all. This is Ghana, Burkina Faso, Mali, Senegal. and Niger. Burkina Faso, that young guy who shut down the corrupt election, where the ruling family wanted to keep themselves in power for almost a whole century, got shut down, right? He reduced the salary of the politicians and increased the salary of the workers. This man spent over $22 million to get more equipment for the farmers so they can focus more on agriculture more than anything else. Because key, if you cannot feed your nation, how can your people function? And the people, but not the politician, keyword, the people said, we don't want this guy to be our interim president. We want this guy to be the main president for the next 5 years. Others are following the same track already. They're like, we're not playing it. Niger kicked out both the United States military and the French military. It's, y'all need to get the F out.
I think this is going to be a more to continue to next week conversation. You guys agree?
Yeah, I was just there. I need to roll, guys.
Yeah.
I
So
know. I'm
let's
sorry.
pick up next week. Maybe the topic could be war. How's that sound, guys?
Oh,
That'd
jeez.
be good. That'd be good because when you talk about education, it's I try not to get too deep because there's so much factor that connected to it. And you
Mhm.
look at the policy, what the policy are that affecting education. Or who are these politicians? Because the way I look at it right now, I'm sorry, you guys. You want to fix this country? You need to. I hate to say it, but I don't
Well,
think you're not
time
going
out,
to
David.
do it.
Time out, time out. Do you want to make this your final thought then?
This is my final thought. If you
There
want
you
to
go.
fix this country, you got to get into the voting booth and flush out every single old fogey politician, including both Biden and Trump. Get rid of both of them. Don't vote for neither one. Vote for the look for a third option. Get rid of everybody.
That's first of all, everyone's old. There's somebody.
I I
All
I
these
know
guys
that.
are in their 70s, man. Look, that's what
I'm
the
I, I'm
you
saying
know.
get rid of all of them.
No,
Flush them all out.
that's what the primaries are for.
And you're right. That's what the primary is for.
You remember what happened last time?
The last time happened because already two major parties, the Republican and Democrat, want to hold on to the power. The problem with people feel like they got time to vote. In other country, voting like a holiday.
Yeah, it should definitely be a national. That's ridiculous.
If you make it a hard to make sure everybody vote, and when they vote who to kick out of office, I promise you, a lot of people lose their seat. The problem is, America dumbed down the society so much, whereby they continue to maintain hold of that. So if you want the country to change, flush them all out. Otherwise, stop complaining. I don't want to hear them out anymore.
All right, David.
Serious.
All right, Paul, you're up,
I
buddy.
got listen. I got nothing on that.
I didn't say that. I say you give a final thought, whatever you want to put.
the mic. No, that that's the mic drop right there. I'm not following up on that. Um, you know, yeah, I'm done with it. So
All right.
I
Paul
got
has
nothing.
nothing, so I'm gonna go up.
Forgive me for that.
So, final thoughts. You have a disability. You struggle with it. You don't know. A lot of people struggle with it. Push forward. Overcome it. You can always beat it. The only thing stopping is you. I know for a fact. So, guys, except that. Schedule update here. I'm gonna get the schedule up so we can have it really fast. So, Paul, for Sunday's show, somebody wants to come back for a round two.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Priest?
No, nah.
Your mom?
Mrs. Laritz's.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So we were talking the other day. I said, "Oh, mom, we're gonna be talking about like X, Y, Z. Death is." We go, "You're gonna talk about death? You have no fucking idea what you're talking about death." She goes, "I'm the expert in this." I'm like, "Oh, fuck me." She goes, "You gonna be educated that day?" I'm like, "And you need to talk about this. You've been avoiding this." I'm like, "I'm teaming. Everybody's teaming against me with this one." I'm like, "Come on, guys, like, give me a little slack here." Oh, fuck you too, asshole. So,
I thought the priest would have come on that one because When it comes to that, we do the funerals. So,
Who Father
Actually, I
Marcos
wouldn't
does
mind.
funeral?
I wouldn't mind, David, if you could be, if you could stop on that show also, because I wanted, because partly I wanted to talk about it from the standpoint of how cultures deal with it when it comes to either
oof.
burial, cremations, just different ethnic views on how to treat the dead. I know certainly in certain religions, like I know in Islam, you have to bury within a certain period of time.
Mm-hmm.
I think also women aren't allowed. I think at funerals and things of that nature. So there's just so more so. I want to kind of start it more so as just as a cultural combo in terms of how
And
nations
I
deal.
would say get a kene is the traditional thing. He understand the traditional culture when it comes to death
We can't.
because
Where is Ekane's been undercover for that? I don't even know.
no,
Because I thought I saw him on
he
stage.
pop on the Lapeef a little bit more now. He's on the Lapeef side on
Oh
Sundays.
no, oh man, he may not recover from that. So
I know because I need to pick his brain too about a lot of culture history
yeah,
because there's so much to pick up because I hate that I had to go to TikTok every now and then and learn a new thing about our culture or history that been hidden from the books and learn so
yeah,
much thing. I was like, why they had this for the book for? Like what the? I'm a history buff, so I
yeah,
get mad when I feel like I got denied.
yeah, yeah. But
Hey,
yeah. But that was part of
I
the
love history. You know, me up for that. So,
yeah,
really fast, quick, schedule update. I haven't posted most of this, but for excuse me, Saturday, it will be Bruce Lee versus Jack Sands, the Legends of the Martial Arts Cinema.
Oh
I'm actually looking.
no.
Oh, you better be there, David. I don't give a shit. I will rip your little whiskers off your head.
You know that could be very difficult
And
to
that's the
talk
point.
on.
That's the fun part about it.
Bruce Lee
It's the
versus
hangout.
Jackie Chan. Oh God. You know you left out one person. Jet Li.
We're gonna add Jet Li to it. I don't give a shit. If you want to add Jet Li, you better be there. That's the only rule we have.
Okay,
Fair
if I'm
enough.
gonna be there, Mandra gonna be there too.
Listen. He is a weird person. Get contact lately. I
Oh, yes.
text him.
Since he been married and you're not, I know I get it. His wife like, no, you can't go play with the boys no more. You got more work to do here.
You can reach out to him if you want. I will reach out to him too. So if all of us reach out, maybe he'll grow the cojones and come back play with big boys.
Oh, wow. Mandra, I did not say it. He froze dauntless.
I'll say it. I don't give a shit. I call you shit when I see it. I
Mr.
love
Ben
him to
not say
death.
anything. He
Listen,
just looking. He like, I didn't see anything.
truthfully, I think he's a great guy. I love him to death.
Yeah,
But
he cool. He's a great guy.
get back to us. Come on, don't forget the boys that got helped you out the whole time. Seriously, Sunday we're talking about death. Obviously, we had my mother last week on. We're gonna bring her back one more round.
Oh, Mandra's in the
Um,
chat.
what's
He
up?
said, name the time and the date.
Took you long enough, you little fucker. Mandero, Saturday we are talking about Bruce Lee versus Jackie Chan and Jet Li now. I assume. 9:30. I think we're in the same time zone, right, dude?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So I will send you
That
the link.
boy, that dude is funny. I didn't know he
Yeah.
was in the chat the whole time. He was
Bro,
like,
I think it's hilarious. Like, but he knows I'm fucking with him. That's the thing. He knows I'm kidding with him. I like Mandro. I think he's one of the greatest guys I know. Like, he's a great guy. I love talking about sharks with him. He's great. I'm not trying to cover my ass. I'm like, honestly, he is. I like talking shit. It's simple. Um, so next Thursday we are talking about war. I think this topic just started up. I really want to continue with it because it is a very serious topic to talk about. I think, and a lot of us don't talk about it. Um, because it is something that is going on right now. We don't talk about it. So that's
I
how
mean,
far I have it scheduled. So,
that's the multi-factions. You got hilarious.
well, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Except
all
that,
right,
guys,
guys. Yep.
we're out of here. So, as always, I am Ghost of Sparta. He is Black David, Paul. I'll figure out one day this. As always, stay fresh, stay safe. I'll see you guys on the next one.